These are the 15 most exclusive Black-owned fragrance brands, and the list only gets crazier as we move. We're talking about a brand that hit 8 figures in sales within its very first year, a fragrance house whose founder quit her banking career and is now closing in on $20 million in annual revenue, and a brand that became the first Black-owned fragrance in Ulta Beauty's entire history, launched by a nurse who taught herself perfumery over 12 years. Let's get into it. Number 15. Moodeaux. Let's kick things with Moodeaux, whose founder Brianna Arps came from journalism. And honestly, that background explains everything about how Moodeaux was built. She spent years covering the beauty industry as a writer, which means she understood the gap between what brands were saying and what consumers were actually experiencing. And the gap she kept circling back to was this. Fragrance had always been sold as a lifestyle signal. Wear this and you'll seem rich, seem sophisticated, seem desirable. Nobody was selling scent as a genuine emotional tool. Nobody was asking what mood you actually wanted to create for yourself. So Arps built Moodeaux around that exact premise. The brand's entire architecture is mood writing through scent. Each fragrance in the Intensensual line engineered to cultivate a specific internal state rather than project a specific external image. Worthy, the flagship, gets described by customers as a hug in a bottle. Renown, attention. The names alone tell you this brand is speaking a different language than the European legacy houses. The business execution has been just as sharp as the concept. Moodeaux became Urban Outfitters' first ever Black-owned perfume label in 2024, and has since expanded to Credo Beauty, Nordstrom, and HSN. For an indie fragrance brand launched by a solo Black female founder with no venture capital backing, that retail footprint is genuinely remarkable. The fragrance world has been dominated by the same handful of conglomerates for decades, and Arps walked in through the front door with a journalism background and a clear point of view. That combination turns out to be more powerful than most people expected. Number 14. Harlem Perfume Company. Here's a brand that understood something most luxury fragrance houses never figure out: that the most powerful thing a scent can do is make you feel like you belong to a story bigger than yourself. Terry Johnson founded the Harlem Candle Company in 2013, selling candles at community events in the neighborhood before eventually expanding into fine fragrance in 2020 with the Harlem Perfume Company. The concept she built the perfume line around is genuinely beautiful. Each fragrance is a love letter to a Harlem Renaissance icon. Josephine, for Josephine Baker, built around playful florals that capture her irreverence and joy. Langston, for Langston Hughes, with smoky red currant notes that feel like jazz and late nights and the weight of words. Duke, Speakeasy, Showgirl. 6 fragrances, 6 personalities, 6 chapters of one of the most culturally electric moments in American history. The bottles are Art Deco white and gold, which means even unsprayed. Sitting on a shelf, this is one of the most visually striking fragrance collections in the market. Johnson is Yale-educated, hand-creates mood boards for every scent tied to its historical figure, and brings an artistic rigor to the brand that most niche houses twice her size don't match. The fact that this is available at Macy's while stock consistently sells out tells you the demand is real and the awareness is still catching up to the quality. This is a brand that serious fragrance collectors are going to be very glad they found early. Number 13. Forvr Mood. Jackie Aina has built one of the most trusted beauty platforms in the world, on the back of a single, unwavering principle. Black women deserve to be at the center of luxury beauty, not at the margins of it. Forvr Mood, the fragrance brand she co-founded with her husband Dennis Asamoah in 2020, is that principle made tangible and wearable. What's smart about the brand from a business standpoint is how deliberately it was positioned. Jackie has over 3 million YouTube subscribers, which means the advertising infrastructure that typically costs indie brands millions of dollars was already built and already trusted before a single bottle was filled. She didn't need to convince a new audience to pay attention. She needed to give an existing audience something genuinely worth buying. So she and Dennis worked with indie perfumers to create a 5-scent collection that could actually stand on its own merits. She was here, a fresh milk vanilla that's become a signature for thousands of her community members. Hard to get, a rose vanilla that's consistently the best seller. NDA, I am her, you remind me. Each one vegan, cruelty-free, and priced at $79 for 50 milliliters. The sellouts happened fast. They keep happening. And what the brand represents in the broader conversation about fragrance is important. Jackie Aina used her platform not just to build a business, but to demonstrate, with receipts, that Black women's money and Black women's taste deserve a dedicated luxury fragrance house. Forvr Mood is that house, and it's just getting started. Number 12. Savoir Faire. Chris Classic started making fragrance in his kitchen, not as a proof of concept or a scrappy origin story to pitch later, just because he genuinely wanted to make something that smelled extraordinary and couldn't find it anywhere else at a price that felt honest. That kitchen project became Savoir Faire, a Los Angeles-based unisex fragrance house that's built a cult following on the back of clean ingredients, inclusive design, and the founder's completely unfiltered presence on social media. Classic came from the hair industry, which means he understands how personal and intimate the relationship between scent and identity actually is. It's not abstract for him, it's something he watched play out in real people's daily lives for years before he ever filled a bottle. The fragrances themselves are bold and confident without being loud. Godmaker, Infinity and Blue, Garden Party. Each one sits in that specific sweet spot where a scent is distinctive enough to be remembered but composed enough to be worn daily. Clean, paraben-free, priced in the $98 to $120 range for 100 milliliters. Savoir Faire is the kind of brand where people buy a bottle, run out within 6 months, and come back immediately without shopping around. That repeat customer behavior is the real signal of a fragrance brand that's built something lasting, and Classic has clearly built exactly that from his kitchen counter-up. Number 11. Mair Fragrance. Mair Eminogu spent 12 years as an attorney before she walked away to make Perfume. Most people would call that a risk. She calls it the most intentional decision she ever made. Her brand, Mair Fragrance, which stands for Mantra of Intentionality and Reflection, was started with $10,000 of personal savings and a very clear vision. Luxury fragrance that feels like heritage, that carries the weight of memory and culture in the same way that a family heirloom does. The flagship scent. Remember When was inspired by her childhood memories of London, a lavender vanilla amber that manages to be both deeply nostalgic and completely contemporary at once. Peony Silk, Acqua di Lusso. Each fragrance in the collection reflects a specific emotional landscape that Eminogu mapped from her own life and travels. What makes the business story as interesting as the product is the path she's taken to distribution. Mair became the only Black-owned perfume brand at Macy's through their Accelerator program, which came with a $50,000 investment and retail shelf space but zero equity, meaning Eminogu kept full ownership while gaining the kind of national visibility that typically costs far more than $50,000 to achieve. Since the Macy's launch, the brand has reported double-digit growth. A former attorney running a fragrance company on her own terms, with her name on the bottle, building generational wealth one considered purchase at a time. That's the story. Number 10. Scent and Fire. Monisha Edwards spent years in the travel industry before launching Scent and Fire in 2020, and that background matters more than it might initially seem. Travel teaches you that scent is memory, that the smell of a specific city, a specific hotel lobby, a specific season in a specific place can transport you more completely than a photograph ever could. Scent and Fire was built around that understanding, and the brand's entire emotional DNA reflects it. The fragrances, Marie, Metro Jet Set, Santa Monica, are bold and modern, designed for women who move through the world with intention and want their scent to reflect that energy. Metro Jet Set in particular became something of a signature, with a woody, oriental profile that feels like a first-class departure lounge and arrives on the skin like a confident, unhurried statement. The brand was one of the first Black-owned fragrance lines to land at Macy's, and has since been featured on Good Morning America and in Oprah Daily, which are not small platforms for an indie fragrance house. What Edwards has built with Scent and Fire is a brand with genuine personality, the kind that develops a loyal following not through mass distribution, but through the specific feeling it creates in the people who discover it. In a market full of fragrance brands chasing trend cycles, that kind of emotional coherence is actually rare, and it's the reason Scent and Fire keeps growing. Number 9. Octavia Morgan. Octavia Morgan spent 12 years quietly developing her craft as a perfumer while working as a nurse. 12 years of learning formulation science, understanding fragrance chemistry, testing, and refining before she ever put her name on a bottle. Most founders in the beauty space launch fast and figure it out in public. She figured it out in private, and then launched with the kind of technical mastery that most brands spend decades trying to develop. The brand she built has a specific and genuinely underserved focus: hypoallergenic fine fragrance for scent-sensitive customers. As a nurse, she'd watched patients react to fragrances in clinical settings for years, and she understood that the gap between "I love fragrance" and "fragrance loves me back" was real, significant, and almost entirely unaddressed by the luxury market. Her Forvr Eau de Parfum, legendary, dark rose, oud noir, summer floral, are formulated completely free of the allergens that trigger reactions in sensitive users, without any sacrifice to the quality or complexity of the scents themselves. In February 2025, Octavia Morgan became the first Black-owned fragrance brand in Ulta Beauty's history, launching in 600 stores. Ulta's Muse Accelerator selected her and invested $50,000 without taking equity. Since the launch, the brand has reported double-digit growth month over month. Her grandmother was an herbalist. She became a nurse. Then she became a perfumer. The lineage makes complete sense when you understand that every step was really just different work in the same direction, understanding how biology and nature intersect in the human body. Number 8. Brown Girl Jane. There's a specific moment in the Brown Girl Jane story that tells you everything about how this brand was built. When founders Nia and Maekaeda Gibbons surveyed their community early on, 84% of their audience said the fragrance industry ignored them entirely. Not underserved, not partially included. Ignored. That number became the brand's entire reason for existing. Brown Girl Jane launched around 2019 as a wellness and beauty company before evolving into fine fragrance, and in 2024 became the first Black woman-owned fine fragrance brand in Sephora. Let that land for a second. Sephora has been a beauty retail institution for decades, and it took until 2024 for a Black woman-owned fine fragrance brand to land on their shelves. The Jones sisters got there on the back of a community that was 85% Black and deeply loyal, a collection of unisex EDPs priced at $102 for 50 milliliters, and a top-selling fragrance called Casablanca, a marshmallow, cardamom, and sandalwood gourmand blend that became a genuine phenomenon on fragrance TikTok, frequently selling out online. The brand now does approximately $20 million in annual revenue, employs 47 staff, including family members, and Maekaeda Gibbons founded the Black Fragrance Association to amplify Black perfumers across the industry. Brown Girl Jane didn't just build a business, it built a movement, and the $20 million figure is both the result of that and just the beginning of where it's going. Number 7. World of Chris Collins. Chris Collins trained under François Marion and advises Kilian, two names that, in the fragrance world, signal an absurd level of access to the inner mechanics of how luxury perfumery actually works. He didn't study fragrance from the outside. He was inside the most rarefied rooms in the industry before he ever launched his own house. In 2022, World of Chris Collins became the first Black-owned brand in Sephora's fragrance category. A milestone that mattered not just symbolically but practically, because Sephora's fragrance floor is one of the most competitive pieces of real estate in beauty retail, and landing there requires a level of product quality and brand credibility that can't be manufactured through marketing alone. The fragrances live up to the placement. Soulflower, the flagship, is a fruity floral built around rose, cassis, and pear that manages to feel both luxurious and completely wearable. Into the Night brings spicy oud energy. Absolute Aphrodisiac is a soft rose musk that people seem to either become completely obsessed with or not understand at all, which is exactly the kind of polarizing quality that separates a real fragrance from a safe one. Collins intentionally centers Black imagery in all of his marketing and has been vocal about the fragrance industry's historic failure to recognize Black creators despite Black consumers being among the most passionate fragrance buyers on Earth. He was named one of USA Today's 100 Most Intriguing Entrepreneurs in 2024. The brand is in Bergdorf Goodman, Neiman Marcus, Nordstrom, and Bloomingdale's. Collins built the thing the industry was pretending didn't need to exist, and the industry has been slowly, somewhat awkwardly acknowledging he was right. Number 6. Fridays with Tab and Chance. Tabitha Brown has built one of the most genuinely beloved audiences in digital media. 4 million YouTube subscribers who show up for her because she is relentlessly, almost stubbornly, positive in a media landscape that rewards conflict and cynicism. When she and her husband Chance launched their lifestyle fragrance brand, Fridays with Tab and Chance in 2025, the first drop sold out within minutes on HSN. That's not a coincidence. That's the result of years of authentic relationship building paying off in the most direct commercial way possible. The brand launched with 2 scents. Her business, a woody floral built from bergamot, orange flower, rose, caramel, vanilla, and musk, and his business, a fresh, spicy counterpart designed for Chance. The duo format is deliberate. The brand is explicitly built around celebrating Black love and the specific kind of partnership that makes both people better. Available as body wash, lotion, and EDP, priced in the $30 to $63 range, positioned as wholesome luxury self-care for couples who actually like each other. What's interesting about this brand from a business standpoint is the distribution strategy. HSN as a launch partner gives Fridays. With Tab and Chance, immediate access to millions of viewers in a shopping context, which is a completely different activation mechanism than the DTC-first model most indie brands use. The combination of Tabitha's existing audience, Chance's complementary energy, and a genuinely joyful brand identity makes this one of the most interesting fragrance launches of the last few years. The waitlist for the next drop is already building. Number 5. Brown Sugar Babe. Maekaeda Gibbons was working at Bank of America when she started making body oils in her home. She quit her banking job, which her colleagues almost certainly thought was a spectacular mistake, and built Brown Sugar Babe into a brand that is closing in on $20 million in annual revenue through direct-to-consumer sales alone. No retail shelf, no wholesale, no distribution partner. Just her family, a website, and one of the most passionate communities in fragrance. Built brick by brick through TikTok and Instagram content that speaks directly to Black women's relationship with scent in a way that the mainstream fragrance industry has never bothered to. The product concept is elegant in its simplicity. Body oils that are openly inspired by designer fragrances, priced accessibly, and formulated to layer beautifully on Black skin. Sweet Honey Buckin nods to La Vie est Belle. Kiss of Honey echoes Tom Ford's Lost Cherry. Gone carries the spirit of YSL Libre. Hustler Love works with the DNA of Dior Poison. Some critics have called this copying. Gibbons calls it giving her community access to the olfactory experiences that luxury brands have been charging $300 for. And her 818,000 TikTok followers clearly agree with her framing. She also co-founded the Black Fragrance Association, which means she's simultaneously building her own business and advocating for the broader ecosystem of Black perfumers and founders who are trying to break into an industry with high barriers and a historically narrow definition of who belongs there. The numbers tell the story. Waitlists, sellouts, 8-figure revenue trajectory, 0 venture capital, full founder ownership. Gibbons built this from the ground up, with her family, on her own terms. The banking industry's loss was the fragrance world's gain. Number 4. Fenty Eau de Parfum. Rihanna built a beauty empire that redefined what inclusivity actually looks like in practice. Not as a marketing message, but as a product architecture, where 40 foundation shades wasn't a gesture, but a statement that every customer deserved to be the primary customer. When Fenty Beauty launched its first fragrance in 2023, the expectation was already impossibly high, and the Fenty Eau de Parfum met it. The fragrance is a warm floral built around raspberry, vanilla, and musk. Rich and sensual in a way that reflects exactly how Rihanna approaches beauty, which is to say, unapologetically. Available in 25 milliliter and 50 milliliter sizes, priced at $75 and $125 respectively. distributed through Sephora globally and at Harrods internationally. The flacons are refillable, which is both an eco-conscious decision and a signal that this isn't a celebrity fragrance designed for one sell-through cycle. It's designed to become part of someone's daily ritual. The commercial infrastructure behind it is the LVMH machine through the Kendo division, which means production quality, distribution reach, and marketing resources that most indie brands will never access. Rihanna leads the creative direction, which means the fragrance reflects her actual aesthetic, rather than a brand manager's idea of what a celebrity perfume should smell like. In a category full of celebrity fragrances that smell like the concept of fame, Fenty Eau de Parfum smells like a specific person with a specific point of view. That specificity is rarer than it should be, and it's why this fragrance has legs well beyond its launch moment. Number 3. Crowned Skin. Daryl Spencer sold a digital advertising company, spent years at Meta and LinkedIn, and then looked at the men's grooming market and identified something that nobody had properly addressed. Black men had been completely underserved by the luxury grooming space, and the brands that were trying to reach them were doing it with the cultural fluency of a corporate diversity initiative. So he built Crowned Skin, a cologne-infused body butter brand that merged fragrance and skincare into a single product category that didn't really exist before he created it. 5 cents. King, Monarch, Reign, Prince, and Empire, each available as a body butter at $37 per jar or in a bundle. The formulation delivers fragrance directly through the skincare application, which means the scent development happens on skin the way the best perfumers always say it should, as a conversation between the fragrance and the person wearing it rather than a broadcast from a bottle. The launch was on TikTok, and what happened next is the kind of thing that gets written up in business school case studies. 8 figures in sales within the first year. Top 2 on TikTok Shop for Beauty. Top 50 in Amazon Men's Grooming. A Shark Tank appearance. Coverage in Forbes, Business Insider, BET, and the Chicago Tribune. From concept to 8-figure brand in under 12 months, with a product that created its own category rather than competing in someone else's. Spencer named it Crowned Skin after a nickname from his school days, and the brand's positioning, a smell-good kingdom for every kind of king, is the kind of specific, culturally resonant language that luxury brands pay enormous sums to brand consultancies to try to develop. He wrote it himself because he understood exactly who he was talking to. The market responded accordingly. Number 2. Aromatic perfume oils. Not every brand on this list is chasing Sephora or courting billionaires, and honestly, that's what makes Deborah Fields interesting. She built aromatic perfume oils out of Kansas City with a straightforward mission: clean, vegan, small-batch fragrance oils that last longer on skin than a spray ever could, at a price point that doesn't require anyone to think twice about buying them. The core collection covers serious ground for $12 to $20 a bottle. Bee Gold is a warm citrus amber that punches well above its price. High runs herbal and fresh. Midnight goes full floral oriental for evenings. The rollerball delivery format is deliberate. Oils develop differently on skin than alcohol-based sprays, building slowly through body heat into something that feels genuinely personal rather than broadcast. Fields understood that before most indie founders were talking about it. She's in Walmart, Amazon, and select mall retailers, moving product consistently with strong repeat customer ratings and zero drama. No celebrity partnerships, no venture capital, no PR machine. Just a black woman in Kansas making clean fragrance that people keep coming back for. In a list full of 8-figure launches and Sephora milestones, that quiet consistency deserves its own kind of respect. Number 1. Be Fragranced. Marilyn Jones started Be Fragranced in 2013 after losing her mother, which means every scent in this collection carries something heavier and more personal than a brief. It carries grief, memory, and the specific kind of love that only makes sense after someone is gone. That emotional foundation shaped everything. The fragrances, Echo, Induced, My Epiphany, Embellish, were each created as tributes to family memories, with Jones reportedly developing a cheesecake-inspired scent for New Year's because that's what her mother made. The bottles carry a cardinal and gold motif, the cardinal being a symbol many grieving families associate with lost loved ones. None of this is accidental, and none of it is marketing language. It's a founder pouring real life into a product and trusting that other people who've loved and lost someone will recognize the frequency. The business model is unpretentious and durable. $30 EDPs sold through JCPenney, Walmart, and Nordstrom Rack, with steady growth year over year and a loyal customer base that finds the brand through community rather than algorithms. B. Fragranced sits at the foundation of this list, not because the revenue numbers are staggering, but because it represents something the fragrance industry rarely makes room for. A Black woman building something beautiful out of something painful and sharing it with anyone who needs it. And that's a wrap on 15 Black-owned fragrance brands that are exclusive for the ultra-rich. Which one are you reaching for first? Drop it in the comments. And for more deep dives into the brands and founders reshaping Black wealth and Black luxury, stay locked into Black Status.